We are momentarily getting ready to get started. Let me see what I need. I was going to hijack that, John.
We'll be starting in 3 minutes. 3 minutes, we'll be starting in 3 minutes.
Pastor Coates. Pastor Coates, we're not using this? Are we going to use the mic stand?
No.
All right.
Thank you.
Sir.
So we need that way. No, we're gonna need a little bit more.
Testing.
It's good to see you.
You're gonna have to spread it out.
Check 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 check 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 check 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 1 2 1, 2, check 1, 2, check 1, 2, check 1, 2, 1, 2, check 1, 2. Good afternoon, everyone. I can't hear you. Good afternoon. Oh, that sounds better. We are a group of live and living people, as someone once said, live and in living color. Welcome to the Town Hall Community Debate. Should you vote for or against the Columbus City Schools levy? And this program is sponsored to you today by the Black Caucus of Central Ohio, the Black Women's Voters League, as well as the Columbus Civilian Community Board. And as we begin all of our programs, we do so in prayer. We know that many of you have different religious customs and traditions, but we turn to God for direction before we do anything. And we have with us on today Pastor Emmanuel Anthony. If he would come and if he would give us offer our invocation today. Come on, let's give him a round of applause. It's Sunday. Our holy devil do.
Thank you. Can we put our hands together one more time for this great event? And to the hosts, Mr. Fahar and her, and to the panelists, we honor you. Let's bow our heads and believe God in prayer. Gracious and eternal Heavenly Father, we thank you for this moment in time in history that you called us, these collective body of believers and individuals who have care and concern and compassion for the next generation. Father, we ask, God, that your presence would rest, rule, and abide in this meeting. Father, give the panelists articulation of speech and clarity of thought so that we can all leave out with a collective agenda and a mission that will empower the future of this generation. We thank you, God, for the capacity of learning. We thank you for everything that is on the table and on the ballot. Now, God, we ask most of all that you would get all the glory, the honor, and the praise out of our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen and amen. Well, once again, my name is Pastor John Coates, and I have the honor of serving as chair for the Black Caucus of Central Ohio. And we are grateful that we have people to debate this issue on today. And if you allow me to introduce our debaters on today, we're going to begin with and we want to mention one more time our co-sponsors today, and again, it's the Black Caucus of Central Ohio, the Black Women's Voters League, as well as the Columbus Civilian Community Board. Okay, so we want to introduce our debaters, and we're going to begin with a member of the Columbus Board of Education, Mr. Michael Cole. He brings nearly 20 years of experience in public affairs, television, radio, and education advocacy. As a board member, he has successfully led the district's first major community listening tour entitled Moving Forward, Dreaming Big 2020. He has also worked with the board to improve student achievement and access to life-changing opportunities. After beginning his career in news writing and photojournalism, Mr. Cole would transition into policy and politics as a public affairs consultant and political strategist to notable congressional, statewide, and municipal campaigns. From 2024 to 2008, he also produced and hosted a public affairs talk show program on Columbus 1580 WVKO entitled What's What with Mike Cole. Mr. Cole has made numerous appearances on national and local news programs, including the Gretchen Carlson Show on Fox National News, and was a regular panelist on WOSU's Columbus on the Record. Today, he has taken his talents to areas of equity in education and information technology and workforce as an administrator. Michael holds a Bachelor's of Arts from Dalhousie State University and a master's degree from the Seton Hall University. And he and his wife, Lee, of 21 years, are the loving parents of a graduate and a current student in the Columbus City Schools. Board member Michael Cole. Our next debater will be Mrs. Nana Watson. Nana Watson. Nana, of course, has an extensive background, and she's serving in her, this is your second or third term now?
My third.
Her third term as president of the NAACP. She's born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. She has a degree in business. She has a master's in philosophy and political science. She worked for Columbia Gas for 20 years as director of community affairs. She funded Black agencies when it was popular to do so, at the tail when PI was introduced to community. She's instrumental in the design of one-step centers in the community in order for customers to avoid making several trips to apply for HEAP and UNCF. Rated funds for Black children to have opportunities to attend college. She was director of development for Franklin University and for Bishop Hartley. She was the first Black to serve as chair of the American Red Cross. She's fighting for Black people is in her DNA. She's a member of the National Black Political Assembly. She was a member of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. She is involved with Black Women's Leadership Conference. She is a daughter-in-law of the first mayor in a municipality, which is Mayor Ellen Walker Craig Jones. Anyone know what city that is? Urban Crest, am I correct? Urban Crest, Ohio, yes. And under her leadership as NAACP president, along with those that worked on her executive committee, she revised the Columbus branch from ashes, which it had initially with zero budget, to a treasury that now exists well over $100,000. She's a former, what's not on her resume, I would include that she's the former chair of the Near East Area Commission, as well as sits on a multiplicity of boards and committees or what have you. Fights for Black people every day. Please receive the president of the Columbus branch of the NAACP, Ms. Nana Watson. Okay. And it's my honor to present to you, I'm gonna do the short form of your resume, is that okay? Okay, yeah. Oh. A longtime community activist. He is the first president of the Driving Park Area Commission, a former aide to the late great C.J. McClellan. He was the Human Service Director for Mayor Buck Reinhardt. He's been a public relations guru, spokesperson for CMHA. He also has been the host of Straight Talk Live for nearly 30 years. I said 30 years. He's also the host of Kahari Free at Last, which check your cable listings for. It can be aired it airs every Monday evening at 7 p.m. on Urban One TV. Please receive our moderator for today. He is the establishmentarian of the Black Caucus of Central Ohio. Please receive once again Mr. Kahari Inoharo.
Let me say good afternoon. How's everybody doing today? Wonderful. Okay. We've got some serious issues. We've got a lot of things that have been happening and putting a lot of burden on people in our community. Gas is almost $4 a gallon. AAP just decided to get ridiculous and go up 30%. Now they want another raise early next year. So we're facing all that rent. I don't need to tell you how high rent is. And we're just facing more and more and more economic crises in the country. We also have an auditor who has to go around and he's going to have to reassess property value. We don't know what those numbers are going to look like at this point when the taxes come out. Some fear it could be twice as high, 3 times as high. We don't know. But it could have a dramatic impact on our community, especially seniors who are homeowners, people who paid off their properties. This could have a dramatic impact on them. So we need to at least be aware of what's going on one way or the other. Now, we try at the at the Black Caucus to have a balanced perspective. Even though we have individual beliefs, we try to present a balanced perspective so we can put both sides of the issue out. So we're honored today to have two of the most dynamic speakers and individuals in our community to join us to participate in this, our fourth debate. We had three other debates. The first one was on drugs, should recreational drugs be legalized? And this was before it made the ballot. The second one was abortion, should abortion be legalized? And that was before it made the ballot. And then we did a third one on crime in our community. This is our fourth in a series of town hall debates. So I'm gonna open it up and I'm gonna start. I didn't flip a coin, so I'll just start with, normally we go ladies first, is that right?
Yeah,
Would y'all want me to do ladies first now?
absolutely.
All right. I ain't heard what the ladies say. Ladies, say something. Ladies first, yes or no?
Yes. We can get it. Doesn't matter.
All right. Y'all heard what she said, didn't you? She said we can get it. You ready to get it, sister? Let's go. All right, then. All right. Nana, you broke a many-year association. I don't think I've ever seen it happen, where the NAACP came out against a school levy. And you led that, you stood up and said no. So the question that I'm gonna ask you is, why did you say no to this year's levy proposal? Why did you say no to that?
First, let me just say, on behalf of the NAACP, thank you for the opportunity. I do bring you greetings from the oldest and boldest civil rights organization in America. And to my friend, looking forward to a spirited conversation. Let me just share, the NAACP has not said no on a school levy. That hurt us to do that, but we had to do it. We have been asking questions of the Columbus Board of Education. Number one, you spent $250,000 on a search for the superintendent. We have asked you repeatedly, what did that money go for? As of today, we have not heard that. There are over 100,000 senior citizens who are homeowners in Franklin County. This levy will affect them. They may have to move. They may lose their homes. As you said earlier, Brother Kahari, gas is going up, food is going up, utilities are going up, the rent is going up if you vote for this levy. That's why the NAACP says no on this levy.
Does that mean at this time, or what would make the NAACP reconsider that?
Oh, well, really, it's too late, but let me just say what they should have done. Because the train is already gone. What they should have done was come to the community and ask us, what is it that you want? No, that did not happen. And I hate this, Brother Cole, and I'm sorry the president of the Board of Education is not here because I really want to have a spirited conversation with her. None of our questions have been answered. The NAACP, it's sad, it's very sad when we have to go to this extreme. 7.7 mil levy is too high. What the Board of Education could have done was had a bond. They could have reduced the amount of the levy. They could have had a sales tax increase. They could have cut some of those high administrative level jobs. I can go on and on and on. Is that enough? Because I can get more.
I'll come back to you.
Okay.
All right. Michael Cole, you voted to support this levy. Why?
First and foremost, thank you all so much for allowing me the opportunity to be here. I really appreciate the Black Caucus reaching out to me for this opportunity. Today is this issue 11, is about our children, our community, because these are our schools. Let me say that again. Issue 11 is about our children, our Columbus community, because these are our schools. This is our city schools. The reason I supported this levy was because I understand first and foremost the urgency of the need to provide for resources that are going to continue to support kids in the classroom and outside of the classroom. Support staff who work in our classrooms, in our buildings, so that they have everything that they need as much as we can provide to continue that. Here's the other piece of urgency that's standing before us. I don't know if you all have heard of ESSER. ESSER are the federal dollars that we receive by our federal government, the Congress, and our United States President, Joe Biden, fought to ensure that we got dollars during COVID that helped schools be able to maintain, irrespective of the additional costs that we were receiving. We've been able to leverage those dollars very successfully and very wisely. But here's what we stand to lose. In September of 2024, next year, we're going to lose those ESSER dollars. That federal appropriation will end. And what essentially will occur is tremendous staff cuts and lost resources. Resources that have had a direct impact on our early childhood learners from pre-K to second grade, third grade, and fourth grade. We're actually to the tune of almost 11% in some grade bands demonstrated tremendous growth between 2022 and last year. This year, in fact, well, last year because the report card is last year. So here's an opportunity for us to figure out and design with local support, because we are in a position where about 70% of our general revenues, our income as a district comes from local taxpayers. When I started in this school district as a board member, my children had been in this school district. My last graduated in 2022, but my children had been in this school district since pre-K. You understand? And at the time that I became a board member, I saw where our appropriation was a much better split. It was 47% state appropriation and 50 some odd plus percent local. Today it's 70% local and 24% state. We are in a situation where we need to grow income. The cost of revenue, the cost of operating a school district at minimum every year increases by 3%. So you were talking about, the other cost of living that we're seeing distressing not just our seniors in the community, but even me. I live in this city too. I'm a property owner in this city as well. So there's no unique group of people. There's everybody who's dealing with this. But at the end of the day, we want to ensure that our children, our community have the resources that they need. We have family ambassadors in our school district, a group of very stellar individuals who work with us on a daily basis to help guide families and children to local resources, whether it's a Nationwide Children's Hospital, whether it's Impact Community Action, whether it's foreign language services. They're providing in-school and out of our four corners support for our children. We want to continue the support moving forward, and that's why I'm vehemently asking that we have your support for issue 11.
Okay, Nana, did you want to respond?
Yeah, I want to respond. Let me just share some ways where the district can cut funds. And I think the board needs to look at the 10 schools that are vacant. Why are they vacant? Sell them. Why don't you sell 270 East State Street? That's a prime high rent area. You need to sell that. And you also lost 5,000 children. Then we want to talk about your family ambassadors. They get paid. Wouldn't that be so nice if those family ambassadors could start a PTA or a PTO in their school system? Wouldn't that just be good rather than pay them? Let's cut costs for real, because the school board has not been good stewards of taxpayer money. And I will say that again and again. And another example, if you will, is that the board negotiated with the CEA. You did a 4% raise for your teachers and for OC. Now tell me this, did you do good financial planning? Could it have been that you decreased the amount of the raises and now we would not be in this position that we're in for you to ask for a 7.7 mil levy on this community? Vote it down, vote no.
Michael, you want to respond?
My response to our fiscal management is that we've been acknowledged by the state of Ohio as having guided this district financially extraordinarily well. This hasn't been a waste of money at all. What this has been is to ensure that we're keeping the top talented folks who are our educators, who are our administrators, who are our bus drivers, that we're keeping our staff here. We realize countrywide, in fact, globally, that we're dealing with staff shortages all over the place. Whether it's bus drivers, folks just decided during COVID, I don't want to work anymore. And what it did was it distressed organizations, entities like ours, and put us in a position to have to say, how do we compete with that? How do we provide accommodations financially? How do we provide accommodations social-emotionally for staff to be able to stay here and have the amenities that they need to confidently disperse their duties? These are the continued investments that we have been able to make.
Now, Michael said that there was, I think these were COVID dollars that you were talking about, Michael?
Yes, sir.
And how much was that?
Over 300 million.
According to the paper, it was 450 million. Now, which figure is it?
If the paper said 450 million, then it's 450
So
million.
then you would, okay, so you weren't sure.
I concur.
All right then. So what happened to the $450 million?
What happened to the $450 million?
And part of that was for capital improvements.
Yes, part of it is currently
But
being
this
used.
new budget,
I'll let
this
you
new
answer the
tax,
question.
yeah,
I'll let
this
you
new
answer.
tax levy is also asking for capital improvements. So why do you need capital improvements money when you had about 300 million you could have spent on capital improvements? Just asking.
No, I appreciate the question. Thank you very kindly. Let me provide a point of clarification. So some of these ESSER dollars had to be appropriated to schools.
What does ESSER stand for?
Every Student Succeeds Act.
Thank you. Forgive me. Every Student Succeed Act, ESSER, is federal funding that was provided to ensure that schools were able to sustain education opportunities. What we were doing, we're using those dollars, to appropriate towards social emotional needs in the school building, more counselors, right? We were using those dollars to leverage additional resources, learning resources for children, whether it's online materials, whether it was Chromebooks. We were providing hard and soft materials for students to be able to learn. We were providing additional incentives for staff to come in and provide their supports to students that added cost of education to us. We also understood that because we have some over 40% of our buildings that are still what you would call legacy buildings. They're older buildings. Some of you went to school at these buildings. Because we understand that there are capital improvements that have to continue in these buildings, we were using some of these ESSER dollars to be able to pay for that and continue to do that right now. We'll use some of those dollars through September 24 of next year. Now, while we are asking for a permanent improvement levy as a part of issue 11 is monies that will go to our general fund, but we are allowed to appropriate them for what we are calling replacement recycle or deferred maintenance. Replacement recycle means that if a HVAC in a particular building breaks down or needs repair, we have those dollars on an ongoing basis to be able to provide for those needs. This will actually give us the resources that we need on a per annum basis, at least to address the greater portion of what's left of our HVAC.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, now, Michael says that Columbus City Schools have been good stewards of the money. You have said that they have not been good stewards of the money. You want to respond?
They have not been good stewards of the money. They can't even tell the NAACP or you what happened to that $250,000 taxpayer money that went for the search of the community. They are not good stewards. They're not transparent. And more importantly, you know what?
When you say they're not transparent, what do you mean? Are you trying to say they're hiding something? What are you saying when you say they're not
I say they
transparent?
lack integrity and they're not transparent. They have not been clear to this community. They have not communicated to this community. Example, we're gonna put a 7.7 mil levy on, what you're gonna do is vote for it. I say not. You don't have the right to dictate to taxpayers what we're going to do. You need to include us in the process, not exclude us in the process. And by the way, in 1997, the Ohio Supreme Court declared that taxation for property taxes is unconstitutional. Why are we doing this?
Michael?
Thank you for that. So the Roth case, as allusion that you made, that you spoke of, which is right on point, right? They didn't just do that in 97, they did it 4 times, a total of 4 times to say that it's unconstitutional. And they called on our state legislature. Let me be redundant. Let me contribute to global warming for you all, right? The state legislature, it is incumbent of them to solve this issue. They have not. We've come with formulas and other things that provide in some measure or lack thereof of resources to local school districts throughout the state of Ohio. There are over 600 of them, might I add, right? So we are in a position where we still, and all 600 of our school districts are still leveraging local dollars to provide for their local school districts. It's just what it is at this point in time. Until our state legislature figures that out, and we have tried to work with them and look forward to working with them moving forward. But until that situation is figured out, we're left in a situation of having to do this, go to the local taxpayers. By the way, we haven't been an approach local taxpayers since 2016. It's been since 2016. We were typically on every presidential 4-year calendar. But because our expenses have become so extensive, because these federal dollars are now beginning to lapse as of next year, it's gonna stop. We are in a position where we need to get these revenues.
Is she
today.
correct then that you should be cutting costs?
We have been cutting costs.
Nana,
We
have they been cutting
had a
costs?
hiring freeze. We haven't been doing this stuff. We haven't been raising costs. We have not.
Um,
We've been leveraging all of our federal monies
Okay, hold on.
to meet our
Nana,
needs.
is that true from your analysis? Have they been cutting costs?
I don't believe they have been cutting costs, and he knows they have not. Let me just say, all of our schools have air conditioning except one. I think that's Mifflin, am I correct, board member Cole? And that will be fixed next year. Now you say you need to have maintenance. And when you put in these new air conditioners, do they have warranties, or is it like my furnace or air conditioning? Do they not have warranties? They break down, you gotta keep on putting money into it. What happened to Operation Fix It? I'm just unclear about what you're doing with the money. You haven't been transparent. You have not been transparent. You only come out when you want something. And governance, I want to talk about that later if I'm afforded.
No, you go ahead and talk about it now.
I just want to talk about governance. What is the board doing with governance? What is your governance policy? What do you do? Because you know what? I did some research. You all know I love to do research. Curriculum audit findings and recommendations. Standards 1, the school district demonstrates its control of resources. Finding, Columbus City Schools Board policy and administrative guidelines are inadequate to provide comprehensive local control over curriculum management. It goes on and on and on and on. So now, not been good stewards.
Mike, what is your view of the NAACP's opposition to this tax? You school board member, you voted yes. Nana's saying vote no. How do you see that? That this is the world's oldest black organization, well, certainly one of them. And also I understand is there's some other groups that have come out against it. How do you view that? Do you think they just don't understand? You think that they just got a problem with an individual? Why do you think they came out against this tax? People who would normally support it.
I think for me personally, this is just a matter of misunderstanding. I think that we have the opportunity to continue to work forward to provide.
What are they misunderstanding?
Let me finish my first statement if I will, brother. I think there's a misunderstanding regarding what this all entails, what these resources are being used for, how our children are benefiting from it, and having a closer connection with us in terms of what we're regularly reporting at every board meeting, what is readily available, not just on camera, but through our board documents, things that you can easily access as information online that are readily available for you to find out. We're doing this stuff all the time. We're doing this work all the time. We're not taking money, we're not misusing funds. We're actually delegating these resources so that our children are continuing to level up.
Are you saying then that the NAACP and some of those who come out again are misinformed?
I'm saying that there's an opportunity to better inform.
But are you saying, are they misinformed?
That's a
I'm
question
asking
for
you,
her.
I'm asking you your opinion. She can't answer you, give me your opinion on it.
Based on this information that I'm hearing today,
Yes.
there's a great deal of misinformation and miscommunication of our information.
Now,
Is that helpful?
that says
All
it
right,
now.
okay.
Let me just say, there's no misunderstanding of information. As I said earlier, as members of Columbus City Board of Education do not come out into this community. They do not engage with us. They only come out when they want something. And there is not a misunderstanding. I have spoken before the Columbus Board of Education since January asking a question. The board members who we have voted for individually, not collectively, never answer questions when they are asked at the Board of Education meetings. And you know why that is? Because President Adair does not allow it. She has to be the spokesperson. It's a dictator form.
Is that true, Mike?
No, it is not. No, it is not. So the biggest reason that in many instances, we are not speaking when folks come to the board meeting and ask, or present what their case or their argument is. The biggest reason that we do not respond is because well over 90% of those incidents are something that we can actually address via the administration. There's something that they're informing the board about, but the administration then has the opportunity to address that either immediately on the scene or following up. In a lot of different instances, if it's an issue, in most cases, an issue relating to children, then what we're doing is we've gotten that information well enough in advance. In some instances, the administration has been working alongside them anyway, and folks just wanted to come out and express to us where they were. We received that respectfully, we listened to it, we connected with the right resources within the administration, and we as an administration try to do as much work as we can to address that situation.
But Nana Watson is saying that she gets no communication from it. That's what she's saying.
Mrs. Watson actually did get
Wait a minute, hold on, go ahead.
I thank you. My big sister here, she actually did get information from the school district. She did. She got responses from our attorney. She saw a consent agenda. She actually saw
answers to the question.
She saw, she saw a consent agenda that actually had where those dollars were being distributed, right in our consent agenda, an agenda that we voted on. She saw where these monies went.
So what are you trying to say she's perpetrating then?
Oh, no.
I mean, wait a minute,
That's
you
what
just
we're not
said-
gonna
No,
do.
wait a minute, no, that's
That's
what you
what we're
did.
not gonna do.
That's what you just did, you said she
That's
had
what
the
we're not gonna
information.
do.
Wait a minute, she's saying she didn't have it, you just said she had it.
What I'm saying is, she had the
Either she
information
had it
that
or
we
she didn't.
provided. Now, whether it sufficed, or whether it meant some sort of sufficing to her.
Well, let's hear
it's a
from
totally
her.
different
Nana, did you
situation.
ever receive
But there's no
information?
perpetration of anything that I'm aware of.
Nana, did you ever receive the information that he's talking about?
Well, I received some from the Attorney Barnes that was scripted. I didn't even know what he was saying. I asked for data. I couldn't even understand the data that he received. The information, when I do a public records request, is vague at best. So yes, I have received information, but as I said, it was vague at best and did not answer my question.
Well, can you ask him the question today? Maybe we
Oh,
can
God, there's so
answer.
many. Let me just.
Well, let's start with the 250,000.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that board member Cole, can you please give this community a breakdown of the $250,000 that taxpayers pay for the search? And you're gonna say this, I can't because it's client privilege. Don't say that today.
Why?
Well, tell me.
What?
Why? Why not?
Ain't nothing client privilege when it comes to our employees.
Hold on.
Excuse me? I'm your boss. I'm your boss.
Oh, that was.
Calm it down.
Okay, Michael, go
Calm it
ahead.
down.
That was-
We're talking to this.
Hold on.
And I'm talking to him.
Hold on. Let's let Michael respond. Go ahead, Michael.
I'm gonna sit right here.
Right there.
Michael, go ahead.
Yes,
You gotta
sir.
have
Yes, sir.
respect. You don't have to be disrespectful.
Hold on for a minute. Now, we're gonna treat everybody with dignity. I know it gets intense, but that's okay. We can get intense without going crazy.
So
Everybody calm down. All right, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so let me unpack this as simply as I can. Let me unpack this and everybody's looking at elsewhere. I'm speaking, so please. Thank you. So let me unpack this very simply for each of you. If you are paying for an attorney or given an attorney for a court matter to protect your interests, to protect the interests of the community you represent, but more specifically to protect your work, you're going to make sure that you are following the advisement and counsel of your counsel. You're not gonna Donald Trump this thing and go out speaking recklessly in the public when you have an attorney that's protecting your interests. We hired an attorney to protect our interests in the process of hiring a superintendent. Let me tell you why. I've been through several hirings of superintendents in my 10-year tenure. The reason that we procured an attorney was so that we did not have any external disruption from other politicals in our state space, whether it's the auditor or the attorney general, getting in the way of us doing our work, becoming a distraction when we're trying to find the right leadership for children. At the end of the day, this is what that was about. That's what this was about, protecting children and protecting and honoring our process that we have local authority to do.
Now he says that the reason why he can't answer is because he's protecting children.
No, he's not. He may be protecting children. Who am I to say? I'm just saying you have an attorney that was paid for with tax dollars. I don't care nothing about no client privilege. If we paid, then you need to tell us where our money went and how it was broken down. $250,000,
I encourage you to go back to our consent agenda where we approved those dollars and see where those dollars went, right in our consent agenda. At the end of the day, we worked with several consultants, including the attorney, to identify our candidates. We identified from a pool of several hundred. We narrowed that down to 6. We then followed a process to narrow that down to 3. Everybody in the community had the opportunity to interact at some point with those 3 finalists, in which they did. This has been a community-related issue and a community-inclusive process. It was a community-inclusive process. We did not exclude our community from this process in any way, shape, form, or fashion. We did not. We engaged, we included, and we did the work.
Well, I'm just asking, NAACP in this community wants you to give us a breakdown of the $250,000 taxpayer money that was used. How much did the attorney get? How much did the crisis communications person get? How much did the engagement person get? I can just go on and on. We're simply asking for a breakdown. That's it. It's our money.
All right, Reverend Coates, where are you?
I'm right here.
All right, let's get some audience participation.
Questions, okay, this is how we're gonna do this. We want you to ask questions, not to make statements. Does everybody understand that? Ask questions,
Not preach sermons.
but not stand up to give your personal statement, but please, if you can be crafty with your question, but ask questions, and please, if you'll raise your hand, and I will come to you. Okay, first question from Pastor Frederick Lamar. Would you stand up, please?
Pastor Frederick D. Lamar.
Don't give me the mic now.
Don't give Pastor Lamar the mic.
Don't give me the mic.
Go ahead, Pastor.
Thank you. I appreciate both of y'all for being here. But one of my questions is, all of the tax abatements that's going on in the city, it's taking money away from our schools. What part does the school play in rejecting those tax abatements, or do they have any say so in rejecting those tax abatements? Because all these gentrifications going on in the city, and everyone that's coming in, buildings that got going up, all these foundations, build these houses, and they get all 15-year tax abatements. So that's 15 years is on the backs of those who are already paying taxes. So my question is, What say-so does the school board has in saying no to those tax abatements?
Thank you for the question, Pastor Lamar. So the way that tax abatements work is that when they're at the 100% mark, we have the opportunity to be included in that process. I can count literally on less than one hand, how many times in my tenure, the board has actually approved a tax abatement. Now, in the process of that, what we did was try and make it work for us as much as we possibly can, as well as we possibly could. The way that we did that, first and foremost, is that what you don't understand about tax abatements is that it's not tax abated on the land itself, but on the value of the property on the land. So we're always getting the tax money on the dirt. Does that make sense? On the dirt, we're always getting the tax appropriation. We're never absent of that. Not that I can recall ever, all right? Now, on the actual value of a parcel, of course, that can be extended as far as 15 years or so, or 10 years or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, what we've worked with those entities that have asked us for tax abatement to do, the way we work with them is try to recoup some of those dollars up front. Whether it was Pizzuti, whether it was Nationwide Children's Hospital, there were opportunities for us to actually recoup those dollars on the front end in some sort of way, in the tune of millions, not as much as we would have gotten without the tax abatement, but still as much as millions, all right? And I don't have all of that information in front of me.
Let me give Nana a chance to respond also. Go ahead,
Okay.
finish up. Go ahead, let Mike finish up.
I appreciate it, and I'll be a moment. But to answer your question, Reverend Lamar, we have a measured say in that, but we're always making the best choices we possibly can in that incident for our district, for our children within the district. And we've been able to leverage opportunities to get revenues in advance of even agreeing on a tax abatement before we make that agreement to actually approve it.
Now,
And it hasn't been many at all. It really has not.
okay, now,
You know, I don't speak on things I don't know about, so I don't know that much about tax abatements, so I guess let's take his word. All I know is that you're giving these tax abatements to these companies, and what they need to be doing is working and adopting the school and giving them some money, since you all say you don't have any money, so let's go there.
Hello, my name is Fred Beard. My question has to do with academics. It is directed at Mr. Cole, but Mrs. Watson can also comment. My question is, could you tell me why or comment on why between 2014 and 2019, the Columbus schools that were predominantly Black were not allowed to bring home school books while the white schools were?
That belongs to Board Member Cole, because I don't have any control over that.
Michael Cole, you want to respond?
I don't know anything about that at all. I have no knowledge of that. What I can share is this, is that this is a district, and I'll try and even make it even more simpler. There's always been this question about cursive writing, those types of things that even at a time that I was a student in school, and many of you in this room were students in school, we were taught this pedagogy, right? Today, because everything is so structured and online, because learning is virtual, we leverage a lot of our online resources and virtual resources that the rest of the world is using to not only communicate, but educate children. So children have been allowed to bring books home into school. Children are encouraged we're trying to work with children to make sure that they're getting as much done in a school day as possible, so that there's not that much weight on a child to have to come home and continue homework at home, albeit I'm sure that there is plenty of homework. I know that where I work in Canal Winchester, as a principal intern at a middle school, kids are provided homework. And some of that may be books, but a lot of that is a lot of online work. The same thing for you all who have grandchildren, nieces, nephews, children. You all are seeing your children being educated the same way. So if there is some sort of disparity about why not as many books have come home, that's the greatest reason why, is that we're leveraging electronic resources for pedagogical support of children.
All right, let's try to be as succinct as we can in our responses, because we're running up against the clock. Go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, I wanted to address the brother. You did mention that a couple of years ago, and I do recall you saying that. So the onus lies with the Columbus City Schools and the board, and I do remember that. So thank you for refreshing my memory.
Okay,
We have a question from soon-to-be Dr. Dorian Wingard, who is vice chair of the Black Caucus, as well as he chairs our Black Agenda Committee. Dorian. Yes, please.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
That's my nana, so everybody knows. Brother Cole, how are you, sir?
I'm good.
My question is very simple. Going back to the DeRolf conversation that we had earlier today, we all know that there were 4 different instances where in which the Supreme Court made their statement. My question for the district is, given the fact that you all are a bipartisan board, nonpartisan board.
Nonpartisan.
Nonpartisan, well, we can talk about it, but nonpartisan. What is preventing you all from exercising, utilizing your governance and your autonomy, your agency, your influence to get the legislature to move on this? As the largest school district in the state, one, if not, I think between Cleveland and Columbus, whatever, but as one of the largest school districts in the state, you and I both know the political influence that the district has.
Mhm.
So is there a reason why every biennium or every GA that you all are down on a monthly basis hammering away, not only at the Franklin County delegation, but the entire state about the school funding issue?
I thank you for that question, and I'm gonna name it and claim it for you, my brother, Dr. Wingard. I'm gonna name it and claim it.
Yes,
for
sir,
you.
thank you.
So with that in mind, here's the reason why. One of the reasons why is constant regime change in the State House. Many of you all if you have been really paying attention to what's happening in our State House, and see, Dorian and I worked in the State House together at one time. And even at that point in time, when we were employees of the State House as legislative aides, there was this dynamic of cantanker, right? Anger and angst between partisan groups on either side, whether it's the state legislature is the House or the Senate. That situation has exacerbated. I mean, it has actually grown in how reckless and crazy and foolish it has gotten to this day. We need to make sure that all of us are leveraging our voices and our weight to make sure that legislators in the State House are thinking on the best behalf of our children, our human capital, our future human capital, who are gonna be employees, our future human capital, who are gonna be mayors and municipal leaders, our future human capital, who are going to be future state legislatures. At the end of the day, the biggest confrontation that we have is with funding, is trying to make sure that we're working with them to get the best funding dynamic we can based on what they're trying to do. Again, for the past several cycles, they've worked on a funding model. They worked on, and even since Strickland, they were working using types of funding models. All we tried to do is say, okay, how do we position ourselves to get the best deal? We did get a good deal this time around. There were some things that gave us a better appropriation that they gave us consideration for. But at the end of the day, we still are in a situation that until the state legislature changed that, and we've been working not just by ourselves, we've been working with other school districts as well.
Okay.
We have.
Let's try to be succinct in our
Yes,
responses.
sir. But
please.
these aren't succinct answers.
I
They're
know,
not.
but try to do succinct
And
answers.
my brother knows.
Because we are time limited. Okay, I do have a question. I want to go back to the tax burden on senior citizens who homeowners. Nanny, you used the figure of 100,000. How did you arrive at this figure?
I called our treasurer, Cheryl Brooks. She's the one that gave me the information. I'm just not giving you just facts out of my head. I've researched it. I made calls. She gave it to me. Everybody knows I'm not gonna speak unless I have the facts, I think.
What does that mean from your perspective?
That means that there are 100,000 seasoned citizens, as I refer to myself and others. It means that this tax burden is going to force us out of our homes. It's going to force us to go live with our children if we have any. We might go to assisted living, but then again, you can't afford that. So it's going to be a heavy, heavy burden on my generation.
Mike, what about the tax burden on seniors or seasoned citizens? What about that tax burden?
So in terms of the total amount of taxes due based on a valuation of 100,000, right? We're looking at $269.50 for the year additional per 100,000 valuation for this 7.7 operating and improvement levy. At the end of the day, this is something that I personally realize, it's not an easy thing, but I'm so convicted, if I can. I'm so convicted for our children. I'm so convicted about what we need to continue to provide for our 45,000 plus children, that I have the courage of my convictions to come and very passionately and respectfully ask for your support. But listen, I realize that this is a kitchen table discussion. It is. It's a kitchen table discussion that all of us at some point in time have to have about the reality of what
But
it
hold
is we
on,
can and can't afford.
hold on, Mike. You're not answering my question. I said, what about the tax burden on seniors?
I gave an answer of data. I also gave an answer that says that each and every
So
person.
you're saying they don't have a tax burden?
What I'm saying is that they have the opportunity to make a choice about what it is they want to vote for.
Are you saying they don't have a tax burden?
I'm saying that they have the opportunity to.
So
to
you're
vote
saying they
up
don't
and
have
down
a tax
all they
burden?
want.
I'm
That's
trying
not
to
what I'm
understand.
saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Yes or no, do they have a tax burden?
There's going to be an added tax valuation of families, including myself, if we vote yes on this operating levy.
Yeah, he's on, I'm not quite sure what he's saying, but I think I
Maybe
hear
he's
him.
not quite sure about what you're asking.
I said, is there a tax burden? That said, this will provide a tax burden on seniors. I'm asking you, is that correct or incorrect? Is there an extra tax burden? Will 100,000 seniors be potentially forced out of their home if this levy
Oh,
passes?
that, I have no idea about that. I have no
Why
way to
not?
answer that. Because I don't know everybody's financial situation. I don't have an answer for that. The answer that I had was more than appropriate, is that you can vote yes, or you can vote no.
Okay, but that didn't address the tax burden. Go ahead,
Okay,
Nana.
I'm
You
gonna-
said, basically what I'm hearing is you can vote yes, and you can bet.
You can vote yes or no, and there's a very specific dollar amount I gave her $100,000.
So Nana, is he saying there is no tax burden from your interpretation?
Well, that's what he said, but everybody has their own right, their own thought, because what you're gonna do is vote it down. So let
That's
me
not
just-
what I said.
So let me just share this. Let me just give, for example, Columbus, East Columbus, Linden area, their taxes will increase 197%. Okay, Southeast Ohio Dominican University, 175,000%. Old Town East and East Franklin Park value will change 234%.
Wow.
That's what I got that from the county auditor, because he did a property tax appraisal, and I asked him to put the census tract overlay. That's what I found out.
So what does that equate to in terms of dollars? So if I'm paying $2,000 already, that will go up to what?
Okay, I had property value in 2022 for Franklin Park was $44,261. It will be an added value of $140,000, plus the reevaluation of property appraisements, which will increase by 31% or more.
Mike?
Or more.
Thank you for that. Now, some of the neighborhoods that were mentioned, and there was a term utilized earlier by my brother pastor in the audience, gentrification. The majority of these communities that were mentioned are full of folks who moved into those communities and bought homes and upped those values of those homes, in some instances, to nearly $1 million. They made capital improvements that they could afford to those properties and added property valuation that has put those particular neighborhoods in that type of position. I remember when I first moved here, me and my wife, a couple years back, about 20 years ago, maybe a little more than that. But there was a time when we were in this community and there was a documentary called Flag Wars. By show of hands, who remember Flag Wars?
It was about me. It was about the nearest area commission. I remember it vividly.
So Mike, are you saying that this is going to adversely affect white neighborhoods more than black neighborhoods and won't affect black neighborhoods? Is that
No,
what you're
oh,
saying?
no.
Well, I'm trying to be clear.
No, what I'm saying is that there's a cost burden that's gonna happen on everybody. There's an additional.
It's a cost burden
There's an
different from a tax
additional
burden.
tax base, there's an additional taxation that everybody's gonna have to experience based on.
So
their
how will
property.
black neighborhoods be affected by this tax?
How,
Mike, I'm asking you, Mike, how will black neighborhoods, and I'm gonna come to that, how will black neighborhoods be affected by this tax?
There are any number of implications. Some black communities and some black homeowners in Columbus, can handle it, can actually shoulder it. And there might be some homeowners, African-American, black homeowners in the city who may struggle. But as a result, I shared at the top of my comments that I am so convicted, I am so passionate, I am so ardent about the success of children, 45,000 plus in this school district, that I have the courage of my conviction and respect to come to you all and say, please, support
But
this.
Cheryl, county auditor, not county auditor, but county treasurer Cheryl Brooks says, this is coming from her office according to Nana Watson, she says 100,000 seniors will be adversely impacted by this. And black seniors, 100,000. Now, that's not me talking, that's Cheryl Brooks.
I provided a comment, and you all.
That's it?
Yes, sir, that's all I have to say
So
about
you
that.
have nothing to say about the 100,000?
I have every concern about anybody that's financially struggling, right? But I've got homeless children in my school district that need the resources that this levy is going to be able to provide.
Let me go to Nana. Nana, you want to respond real quick?
I've got families hurt too.
Go ahead. The question about the 100,000, did you want to have a closure or are you okay then?
yeah, well, 100,000, more than 100,000 senior citizens, and some of us live in those neighborhoods where I quoted you how much the taxes will increase. We live in those communities. You know what? It's gonna push us out in another form of gentrification. There it is.
Let's go to the back. Barbara.
You know, my name is Barbara Clark. I'm with the Black Women's Voters League. So we talk about how does your vote impact your household? You know, we talk about the 100,000 seniors who are splitting pills because they can't afford their medicine. And you're talking about your conviction. You're gonna have a hard one. But what I'm talking about is how would passing this levy affect the schools? They got 3 Ds and an F. But you want us to support something that's better. That don't make no sense. Help me understand that. I come to
No, I thank you. So the state does not give letter grades, has not for the last couple of years now, give letter grades. Our first numerical grade that we got, report card that we got, showed that we are a district that needs improvement, that needs support with a number 2. We got a 2 out of a 5 score, we got a 2. How this will help us is to sustain counselors in our school buildings. How this will help us is to make sure that we have the teachers and the talent that we need in our schools to ensure that our children continue to learn and grow. That despite what we're seeing, we know that on the front end of education, particularly public education all over the country, on its front end, we see the greatest amount of struggle with our students as they're learning themselves, as they're learning the materials, they're working towards mastery. But what we see in Columbus City Schools specifically is we see a very strong closure. We're seeing a strong closure where we're at nearly an 80% graduation rate. We see a strong closure where a fair number of our students are actually going to the workforce, ready to work, with seals provided to them by the state of Ohio that said that they are ready to work, with the training that provides them. These are the things that we need. We need safe, warm, and dry buildings.
Okay.
These are the resources that are gonna help our kids.
Let me go to, first of all, I want to acknowledge someone who I just saw him, Reverend Joel King. Let's give him a round of applause. I'm so happy to see him. Okay, go ahead.
So I'm Lisa Freeman Williamson with White Baptist. Good afternoon, everyone. So, Sister Clark, your question actually led into mine. You all are at 2 stars out of 5 stars. Is there a commitment from you all, being that the district is over 50% African American, to begin to utilize best practices to teach African American students?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, ma'am, and that's been a continued one since day one, absolutely. And most specifically as a part of our SOFG, our student outcomes focused governance model.
Okay.
We are definitely focused on making sure that all of our children succeed, but we're using things like MTSS, we're using restorative practices, we're using any number of things that actually help our children level up in a classroom.
Okay.
The answer is yes, ma'am.
All right, next question.
Okay, so I appreciate you guys being here. I'm Tiffany White. I live in what used to be Linden, but now they've changed it around to be something different. Linden, folks didn't move in there, investors moved in. Our properties were moved out of the land bank and into the land trust for only developers to develop. So it wasn't that we wanted this not to happen, but you wouldn't allow us to buy things. We can't get a 15-year
Who is
abatement.
you?
The school district and Columbus, the city of Columbus. We can't get 15-year abatements to buy a home. That
So
doesn't
it's the
happen.
city
Let
of
me
Columbus,
finish, because you guys do,
Go ahead.
you said a handful you approved in your 10 years. I'm a senior-ish, but I'm raising grandchildren. You guys aren't addressing special needs. You're not addressing them. You're not addressing the bus shortage or the 45-minute wait and kids are getting to school late every day. You hired bus drivers and you said people quit because of the pandemic. I know 3 bus drivers that got other jobs because they're part-time. They could not sit without employment, and you wouldn't give them unemployment. Allow them unemployment benefits. So let's not say that our folks are lazy, don't wanna work, but you decided last year that you weren't gonna put this particular levy on the ballot. And I sat on the facilities master plan committee, so I understand the things that need to be done in our district. Why haven't you educated for an entire year this community about what things are going to be in this levy so that folks will be comfortable with it versus voting for it to go on the ballot and then now saying, okay, we got 60, 90 days, you need to vote for this. Like, I mean, it's really about education. And yes, I've sat on plenty of committees and commissions. It's not my job to inform folks, it's y'all's job. And when are you going to take that into consideration? I asked you that question when we were on that committee. Like, maybe not you specifically, but when are you gonna educate folks how we're going to do this, why we need to do this, how we can be competitive with other districts, because they have best practices. Canals levies get passed. Delaware counties get passed, but they're also producing individuals that can compete in the workforce.
Yes.
When are we gonna look at their best practices and work on how, when a levy comes up, we can say, we're using this model and it's been successful?
So, are you?
I'm done.
Thank you.
Is that a statement for both individuals?
Yes, I mean,
Okay, let me have Nana respond to Mike. Go ahead, Nana.
You know, Sister White, I've always said the boards never, they only come to the community when they want something. So it's not the NAACP's responsibility to come out and talk. I try to give the community information that they can use when they go to the polls. For example, when you go, please vote no for the school levy.
Mike.
So,
I really want to know why you didn't educate the community when you decided last year to take it off the ballot. Because that would have been the responsible thing to do.
Okay.
I thank you for that.
Hi, my name is Libby Rand, and since I've been listening to you, because I've been trying to decide, although I think I made up my mind, why I should vote for this. You've told me that because I'm a senior, I have a yes and no opportunity. I'm a 71-year-old senior whose taxes are gonna go up. My granddaughter was in a non-air conditioned school. I just don't have give me a reason of, oh, I forgot, I'm being charged because white people are moving into my community. Why should I vote for this? I need something real short, just like I'm giving it to you. considering, and those 80-some-odd% that you talked about graduated, can they read?
You better say it.
Yes.
Can they write cursive? And can they do math? Because when I go to the fast food place, they don't know how to count the money over $20. A handle of 50, they look with deer with headlights.
And I may add, there's been several reports out, and I'm sure you've read them, stating that the top schools that are underperforming, 8 or 9 of them are black schools. In some schools, the literacy rate or the math comprehension and literacy comprehension rate, 90% of the students can't do it. In some of those reports, I mean, this has been out for quite a while. This is as of 2023. Yeah,
According
Mike, I want
to
to get Mike
state
Chance to
data,
respond.
less than 25% of the students are ready for post-secondary education, workforce, less than 25%.
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
I want to
Now, get Mike
say,
Chance.
yeah, in 2020, Phi Delta Kappa, an audit group came to this district. You remember that, Brother Cole. And they talked about what needed to happen. It was going to be a 5-year process. They came in 2020. This is now 2023, soon to be 2024. And one of the things that they pointed out, the alignment of curriculum across the school district. Tell us where you are with that.
Is that a question? Is that a question or a statement?
That's the question. Where are
It's a
you?
question for
Brother Cole.
Okay,
Where
Brother
are
Cole.
you with that? Because I got it right here.
Brother Cole.
Yeah, because I haven't seen that.
You were at the board meeting when they talked about it. I watched it yesterday. You were on the video when the auditor brought it to you, and then she commented on your haircut, because she's from Waco, Texas, and she said that she liked your haircut. I can tell you when it was. I'll send you the link. You were at the board meeting. I watched the video now, and you commented.
Okay. So I want to answer my senior sister's question in the back. I'm sorry? All right, I want to answer Ms. Livy's question. The answer to your question is very simple, is that we're either going to support our children or we're going to decide not to. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
Come on, man.
Hold on. It does not mean that I lack any empathy or sympathy for anybody. But again, my role here and my work here is to ensure, my life dedication here is to ensure the resources for children that they need. Children who come into a school with behavioral issues, with trauma issues, with any number of things, and they need staff members who are readily available to support them. But hold on, please. Thank you, brother. Children who need quality staff in a classroom who are teachers and instructive aides, instructional assistants who are there to provide the supports for children to stay steady in a classroom and learn to master the information that they're given.
It's hard
Our
to study
children,
when it's 90 degrees.
ma'am, we have dealt with, for the most part, for the greater majority, we have addressed the HVAC issue. But we know that there's going to be continuing costs to address that moving forward. We need those dollars to make sure that when equipment fails, it's able to be repaired.
Okay.
We need those dollars.
Okay, I have a question from the cameraman who happens, we thank him for his live stream, and you can find the live stream on Buckeye Oddity.
Please share the brother's
Entrance.
name.
What's your name?
My name is Jeff Larson.
Thank you, Brother Larson.
Okay, what's your question?
My question is this. Ms. Watson came in with a folder of paperwork, stats, info. You're asking us for all this money, but yet I'm not hearing any town halls at our school buildings to bring in the parents, to bring in the people. You didn't even show up with a binder yourself or something that we could put into the computer to see where everything's going. Why should we really support this if you can't truly sell us on where this is going and how it's going to improve? Are any of these so-called teachers that we want to hire going to be at a side or a minor in therapy and psychiatrists to help these students that is anyone we need?
Thank
Where's it coming from?
Thank you, Mr. Larson. So I pretty well explained that in the beginning, these federal dollars provided for that type of staff. Our teachers are trained to be educators of a particular curriculum or pedagogy for students. And we hire additional staff support who provide the therapy, who provide those other amenities. So the answer to your question is yes. Secondly, the answer to your question about information is how readily available it is right on the district website. It is. This
Not everybody
state
has
us
the internet.
I'm sorry.
Not everybody has access to the internet. We should be able to get paper documents.
Okay,
There's
hold on,
actually
let me
something that
finish.
to.
Mike, be as succinct as you can, go ahead and finish.
I am. There's information readily available. And there are all of us working, all of my colleagues are working together to ensure we're going out in the community and informing folks as best we can. We've even done that at our board meetings as well. We spent quite a bit of time, even our last board meeting, doing that.
Okay.
I have discussed at length over the last 2 years why this is important and what is coming. Whether it was in my finance committee meeting or whether it's actually at the board table.
Okay, board member, question from board member, former board member, James Ranglin.
Thank you. We're talking about money today. Quite frankly, if you don't have an understanding about tax abatements, you really should not be speaking about tax levies concerning the schools. We've talked around the issues of what the tax abatements are not getting to the school district as they have been given out by the city of Columbus. I don't want you to confuse the fact. He's correct in what he's saying, that there have only been a handful that the school board has voted on. Because there's only a handful of 100%, but there are hundreds of less than 100% tax abatements. Each one of them are voted on by the city of Columbus, Columbus City Council, not the Columbus School Board. So when you want to talk about resources leaving the Columbus City School District, that is the jurisdiction. The Columbus City Council is the jurisdiction where you should be focusing your energy, not the 7 members of the Board of Education. Start there. A part of the challenge that I have with this entire conversation, and I'm just going to be brutally honest with you, and I'm sorry, I know you said don't ask me questions, but I've got issues on both sides. Because I served on the Board of Education, and a lot of the things that y'all are asking for, I advocated for, to the loss of a tremendous sacrifice of myself. And a lot of the things that Michael is talking about right now, he's correct on, but they needed your support in order to get those things across. Now, the problem I have is the selective advocacy.
Selective advocacy by whom?
By the NAACP first. I want to know, I want to be very clear.
Come with it, baby.
I want to be very clear. Because this energy that she has for the Columbus City School Board should be the same energy that she has for the mayor and city council. And she doesn't.
But wait a minute.
Wait a minute, I want to finish.
I want to be clear. I want to be clear. Because a part of the problem that I have, the school board is compromised on so many levels. That teachers union runs that school board. That teachers union runs this district. You don't have 30-member school board, 30-year school board members. You don't have 30-year superintendents. You've got 30-year teachers in a bureaucracy of 4,500 people who are educated, literally trained and certified to teach you how to think and do their bidding.
Okay, hold on. Let me give down a chance.
I ain't done.
Okay, I know, but I'm gonna give you more, and I wanna give you, up this clock, I wanna give her at least a chance to respond. Go ahead, man.
Let me just say this to you, Brother Ragland. Let me be very clear. You don't know what the NAACP has done as it relates to the mayoral race or the candidate. And let me remind you that when you ran for mayor, NAACP Baptist Ministerial Alliance, Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance supported you. We supported you when you ran for school board. So I don't want to hear. So don't talk about what you don't know about me.
Thank you for that. This is my life you're talking about. So what I'm gonna say, I'm gonna be very clear. Neither one of the ministerial alliances supported me while I was running for mayor. I want to be very clear about that. And despite the fact that at that time, I was a 40-year member of a Baptist church, they chose to endorse Andy Gifford while I was running. We want to talk, I'm going to talk it. Now, my last race for Columbus School Board, I didn't get the support of neither one of the ministerial alliances, and I literally cannot get the support of the NAACP because they're a nonpartisan organization. But what I will say directly to that, Madam President, I have asked you very specifically over a number of years to do the things that the NAACP has traditionally done in communities of color to educate the voters of this community. I've asked you specifically, put out a report card that lists every single politician and every single issue in this city over a number of years, and that was met with disdain. Why? Because you like writing op-eds in the Dispatch with the council president. Oh, here's what we are talking about. We have people in place that are misinforming our community about the issues that are pertinent to us. The entire last 2 years, you've heard from a teachers union that doesn't look like your kids, doesn't send their kids to school with your kids, telling you what you needed to know about Columbus City Schools buildings. You believed it. We supported that. We went and did the wobble on the picket line with them while their kids was in the Hilliard schools and Pickerington schools getting educated well. And so my thing is, why weren't you out front and outspoken while the teachers were striking? Because this levy right here is the bill that is due from the strike that you support.
Okay, let me get it. Nana, did you want to respond?
No, I'm not going to respond to Brother Ragland. I will pray for him.
Okay, time out.
This question is gonna be for Mike. Mike, I sat with you on a radio station a while back when you were running, and we talked about the fact that.
That's when he was on the air with us. Yeah.
We talked about the fact that the funding for the school system is wrong. So I got two questions. Why haven't we sued or did something with the legislation to change that? And the other one is, did the school board have a discussion with Mike Stenziano about what kind of revenue he's generating with all these prices, appraisals, high appraisals on this property? And the fact that he's targeted the black sections in the city for a higher percentage, which sounds like to me he's saying you gotta pay up in these areas because we got in bed with the developers, and here you go. So what kind of money is that gonna generate, and why haven't we did something with the funding that makes sense? To answer succinctly, yes, we actually have posted Auditor Stenziano at one of our previous board meetings. Probably, I want to say 2 board meetings ago, we actually had him come to the Board of Education. I requested that through my finance committee and my treasurer for the district, and he show up and explain and talk to us as to what he plans to do with that. So I encourage you to go watch that video. We actually have video of that. You may see that video and so watch that board meeting. You guys should look that up on YouTube. Look that up on YouTube, and you should see that video. He came to our meeting and discussed that. As it relates to some of the other things, we are currently in a lawsuit against the state about some other issues. We've had to set aside $15 million a year because of this transportation situation with a small portion of our charter students. So there are a number of things that we're dealing with. At the end of the day, brother, our biggest role is to educate children. And that cost in and of itself is incredibly exorbitant. One of the reasons why you're seeing me ask for that right now, okay? Yes, sir.
All right, Nana, did you want to respond?
Yeah, I want to say spending is not a sole indication of progress, Brother
This
Cole.
is true.
Is that it?
That's it.
Brother Cole, what I'm hearing from the community is this. Everybody supports and wants the best for the children. But what I'm hearing is that it's putting the burden on those who least can afford to pay. That's what I'm hearing. It's crushing 100,000 senior citizens. That's what I'm hearing. And the response has been, well, I'm still for the children. I got that. I understand. But now it's kind of left up to the people in this community to look to see if that is something they can continue to afford. For a district that has 2 stars out of 5, has 1 star in literacy out of 5. If you feel that giving it more money will enhance it, then you vote yes. If you believe that there are other ways to do this that do not put a financial burden and crush senior citizens, you vote no. That's where we are with this. I want to thank Michael Cole. Let's give him a round of applause. And I want to thank the NAACP President Nana Watson. Let's give her a round.
Thank you, and I want to introduce to you, if you haven't gotten a chance to meet her yet, is a write-in candidate for Mayor of Columbus, and her name is Carrie Griffin. Carrie, stand up and let people see you, please, quickly. This is Carrie Griffin. She's running for mayor of the city of Columbus. Stop by, see her, get some information from her. We certainly recognize, as he asked a question earlier, the former president of the Baptist Pastors Conference of Columbus, Pastor Frederick Lamar. We're grateful as well for former school board member James Ragland. And how about our moderator, Kahari Inaharo? As we begin, we close as we begin. We close as we begin, and that is in prayer. And I'm going to ask the distinguished president of the Baptist Ministerial Alliance, Dr. Joel L. King Jr., to dismiss us in prayer.
Thank you, Pastor Cole. Gracious Father in heaven, we thank you for this afternoon and for this opportunity to bring our community together to make a decision once again at the polls. There are many sides, many issues, many things. We pray, Lord, that you'll intervene in our hearts and minds, that we make the right decision, not only for our kids, but for our community as well, for our leaders, for our board members, for our state legislators, for each one in this room that has been toiling with this issue for over 30 years. We've talked about improving these schools, and we're still arguing today about it. And every time we come to these meetings, Lord, we come down to the fact that it's the kids. But it's not the kids that got to do the voting all the time, it's the seniors. It's those who are in warfare in this community to build it where it is today. And now we got to make a decision because our board decided not to put a levy for 5 or 10 years. They want it for the rest of our lives. And we just got to make that decision. Do we want to do that at this time period in our life? Or do we want to stop and say, let's back up the train. Let's go back and re-educate our community, our teachers union, and those that involve all our kids, the buses, drivers, the lay people in the kitchens and hallways, and especially our parents, those that are single, those that are raising their grandchildren, nieces and nephews, those that have to make a decision for our community right now. So we pray in your spirit right now, Lord, and we dismiss ourselves from this place, but not from your presence. That you move, Holy Spirit, right now and touch the hearts and members. And let it all go out, whatever decision we may make, to tell our neighbors, our voting people and our families, those that don't vote,
Make sure you visit the Black Caucus on our website. You can find us at www.blackcaucusofcentralohio.org. You can also find us